All right, just follow along now, okay? So the following is the average number of items purchased per person at a retail store. So we've got the number of people and items purchased. Does this look like a weighted mean situation? Yes. And so, because there's two different categories, so you want to get mad, right? You want to multiply, so you multiply across. Okay, and those, oh, I had my AC ready to go here, and then I flipped over to a different page. 1 second here. There we go. So that ends up being 20 plus, and you want to add. That's the second part I'm adding already. This is 75, 120, 350, 400, 420, 195, 200. Let's do it this way. If I see these numbers down here, I'll give you 1 mark already today. If I see the correct multiplication, and then here we're actually going to calculate our mean. If I see that you've added this, you should get 1780 in total. And so that's going to be another mark for having the 1780 there. And the division part is the hardest part. So what are you multiplying the whole time? People, right? People multiplied purchases, right? Items. And what do we want to stay? The question usually says the average number of items purchased. We want this to stay. So we need to divide by the number of people. Okay, because then we get to do this and we're left with items. So you should go to the number of people here, add up that row. It could be a column, right? But in this case, it's a row. You've got 45 people being considered here. So this should be divided by 45. You get a mark for picking 45 as your division. Okay. Now you divide. You get 39.56 items that are being purchased on average. Question, does it make sense? Like if you look at the items purchased as high as 100, as low as 5. So we are somewhere in between that. So this actually is valid, right? Okay. Okay. So you don't get a mark for the final answer. You just lose marks if you are missing components, all right? There we go. Next, we've got is this a weighted mean situation? No categories. So it's just pay attention to this, because I would love for you to ace this one on the exam if you see a question like this. So sometimes they will have day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4 at the top. So students think, oh, day 1, 17. They'll just multiply like that. Don't fall for that. They're just labeling that, right? Each individual item is for each day. So these are the views on my YouTube channel. I just made this up, right? So anyways, we're supposed to arrange it, right? From lowest to greatest. So that'll be 14, 14, 15, 17, 17, 22, oops, 22, 23, 32, 35, 79. If you have that in this order, I'll give you a mark for arranging, obviously. Calculate the arithmetic mean of the views. So that's just your regular mean, where you add everything up. You should get 268. And we're dealing with 10 values, right? So that would be 26.8 views on average per day. That would be. So you get a mark for that. Determine the median number of views. What does this number tell us? Median. First of all, this is an even number of a data set, right? So what I do, because if it's a large value, 10 divided by 2 is 5, right? So to get the median, you're going to have to take the 5th and the 6th value in your set and divide it by 2. So we count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's going to be in between these two here. So we go 17 plus 22 divided by 2. Make sure you do the top first. If you get this right, it's 19.5 views. Okay, you get a mark for getting the 19.5. What does this tell us? Half of the days, right? Half of the time more than 19.5 views, right? And half fewer. Okay, something like that. I didn't give you a lot of space for that, but that's what median is telling you, that half of the time there's more, half of the time there's fewer than 19.5. That's what median tells you. State the mode. Is there a mode? It's 14, right? 14 and 17 views. So always make sure you follow along with some sort of unit. I would say it's all or nothing for the mode. There's no, oh, I got the 14, but I didn't. It has to be 14, comma 17. Is there an outlier? If so, state them. I would say yes, 79 views. Why might that have been 79? If they ever ask you, what might be the reason for the outlier? Make something up. Maybe Mr. Dirksen was sick. Maybe it was just before a test, right? Something happened, that's why the views spiked. Okay. So just make it up. What about a low view? Could have been a weekend, right? Or maybe it was a bad lesson, wasn't right? Like it just didn't. Or the lesson went very well in class, or everybody was in class, so there was no need to view it. Just make stuff up within the context. Okay. The trimmed mean. What does trimmed mean? If I don't tell you anything, we're just trimming the highest and the lowest. We're cutting them out. And so the trimmed mean is basically finding the average of what's left over. So the average here would be, the easiest way for me is to go 268, which is the sum that I used to have, take away the 14, take away the 79, and instead of dividing it by 10, I'll just divide it by 8. So that's 175 divided by 8, which ends up being 21.88 views. So what happened to my mean if I trim it? It went down, right? It used to be 26. We're down to 21 because there was a very high outlier, right? It was pulling it up. It was skewing it, right? So there we go. Let's keep going. Oh, let's do the total for this page, sorry. So 3 marks for question 1, and then we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 8 and 3, that's 11 for this page, for the front. Backside. This is most definitely a weighted mean situation, right? You've got weights and you've got scores. And what did I tell you when they're percentages? What are you going to check for? You're going to check for if one of them adds up to 100, right? The weights do add up to 100. Okay? So that's that. So here we cross multiply like this. And we get, let me just get my key in order here. We got 464. That's mad again, right? You're just going to get mad when you see one of these. Maybe you got mad, but you didn't know what it stood for, right? 1750. So we're gonna want to add these. So if you add it, now I'm ready to do my mean here. I'm gonna add it all up. I get 5534 divided by, if there's a percentage, and it adds up to 100. You know without a doubt that you have to just go ahead and divide this by 100. It's gonna work out every time. So this is 55.34%. And my Gradekeeper does this. When I put it into the report card system, that's when we round, right? But you can actually get it down to a decimal. So that's the mark for, and again, we did this, right? Multiply, add, divide. Okay, that's what we do when we do weighted mean situations. You get 3 marks for that. So 1 mark for having all the correct numbers here, 1 mark for having the 5534, and 1 mark for dividing by 100. These are usually worth 2 marks, to be honest, but when marking it as an AC, it's easier for me to just give you 1 mark for each of those steps. Now, we want an average of 60, right? Mr. Dirksen, I want an 80. What do I need to get on the exam? That's going to be a very common question. So this is a backwards. You can write that in there. Okay, if you need more examples for backwards, here it is. So you still do the mad part, right? You cross multiply. And you end up with, this is 464, 780, so there was some overlap from the previous question. This is 1,000, and this is 1,000 as well. And then here you go 15 times x, 15x. You don't know what the exam score is going to be yet. So watch this. Instead of mean writing the x bar, you say I want a 60. You add what you can. Okay, that's where this is different. So you add this up, you get 4784 plus it's 15x. It's not just x, right? And what are we dividing this by? It's going to be by 100 because the weights add up to 100, right? So then you do want to divide by 100 here for sure. And so if you have this, I will give you a mark already. You have that part. And now we undo what's happening to x, right? So the first thing is get rid of the 100. Get rid of what's dividing the whole expression. So times it by 100, times it by 100, right? So you get to do this. That's the only reason that you're doing that. So you're left with 4784 plus 15x. And on this side, you're left with this. Okay. The next step is the subtract. So you're slowly getting closer to x, right? So this is another mark for actually subtracting there. So you get 1216 is equal to, you cancel out here, you're left with 15x or x15, it doesn't matter. And your last step is to divide both sides by 15. Okay. So x is equal to 81.07% is what's needed on that final exam to achieve the goal. That's another mark, by the way, like dividing by 15 to get the final is another mark. Is it possible to achieve it? Yes, since a score of less than 100% is needed. So it is possible. Anytime it's over, even if it's 100 on the nose, it's still possible. Right? Is it probable? Not. But it is possible. All right, so a mark for that, right? So we've got 3 and 3 and 1. So the backside is worth 7. So add it all up. 7, 7 and 11. That is equal to a Slurpee, right? 7, 11. Anyways, put your name and last name on there.